Hi everyone, how are we doing again?
I'm
Yemi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's been a long day, long day. I'm fine. Always happy to record, always happy to share thoughts. I'm good. I'm good. It's starting to get cold where I am, but yeah, it comes with the territory. The world 2024 has been an interesting year. Life is interesting. I'm good. I'm good. We thank God.
Thank God.
Yep.
Thank God indeed. And that takes us to, today's subject. We're talking mental health for men. And what you just talked about now sort of leads us naturally into it. With all the pressures we're dealing with, all the anxieties and core that we're dealing with as men. And I mean, look, as all adults, generally, adulting is hard. But this time we're talking specifically about the men, about the pressures that we face as providers, as fathers, as husbands, as employees, as employers, whatever it is. Yemi, what do you think?
So let's talk about before I go into what I think, because I think this has potential to be very long an impactful session. So, what is men's mental health? That's the first question for me.
Yep.
So, men's mental health pertains to emotional, social, and psychological well being of men, and how we men handle stress, how we men handle interpersonal relationships, how we men handle everyday life challenges. Now, mental health issues in men can be impacted by biological factors. It can be impacted by social factors. It can also be impacted by cultural factors. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about things like societal expectations of masculinity. So
Mm-hmm.
the environment you find yourself, whether it's in the West or Africa, what are those societal expectations of masculinity? I'm also talking about things like reluctance to seek help. I'm also talking
Yeah.
about external stressors like work, business, like allow me mention, it doesn't matter whether you're an employer or employee. If you're an employee, you're facing some stress. If you're an employer, you still have to manage people. You'll still be facing some kind of stress as well. Relationships as well, and trauma. So in many societies, I'll say men are expected to be stoic, suppress emotions, don't cry, avoid showing any kind of vulnerability to anybody. Now, these cultural norms over a period of time can discourage men from acknowledging mental health struggles, which can lead to a higher risk of depression, in some cases, substance abuse, in some cases and extreme cases, even things like unaliving. You know what that is? I don't want to say the
Mm-hmm.
word. Um, so let me just stop there for now.
Hmm. Interesting, Yemi. Thanks a bunch for that. Mental health is, it's one of those things that in recent times, it's become something that we talk about more often. It's now something that we acknowledge, we discuss, and we find ways to look after. You hear people say, "Oh, I need to be careful about my mental health."
Yes.
I think, sadly, for men in general and for men in our society, first of all, we're under a lot of pressure. Generally, the world has never been this tough. And then, because society, like you said, expects us to be strong, stoic, to and showing emotion is seen as weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So in this sort of society, I think men carry an outsized burden for those factors.
Mm.
The regular pressures and the fact that you're not expected to ask to feel a certain way. So you can't ask for help but when you feel the way that you're not supposed to feel. It is a problem. But what's the way around it? How do we and we've discussed this when the Nick Imudia incident happened. We talked about like pressure.
Yes.
All the various pressures that we face as employers, as employees, pressure to just be alive, to do the best for your family. And financial pressure is one of the biggest things that human beings face. Isn't that the number one cause of divorce, for example? So it tells you just how important finances are. And your finances will kill you.
And finances are like this.
Except the last few years is like this.
It's not funny, guys. I'm not trying to make it light. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And, we don't, like I was saying, we're not taught to seek therapy. So you find us bottling our trauma in, and they say hurt people, right?
Yeah.
You find people bottling their trauma in and how do I put this now? Leeching that trauma out onto their family, so onto their wives, onto their children, into their relationships. That trauma is unrelenting. And then how do you cope with that if you're not even going if you won't even acknowledge the problem, then you won't go to therapy. And we're Africans, we sort of call God into everything, and by the grace of God. Or you go and see a Christian therapist. And they ask you to pray it away. What's your take on therapy?
No, it's a good question. I think I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't had therapy before, so I don't have a first-hand experience. However, I've been in sessions at work where people have talked about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT. And the person who spoke said there are good levels of progress that has been made, or talk therapy that has been made by speaking to people in a non-judgmental manner. I think it has its benefits. I think it has its benefits to help people to understand root causes. I won't knock it completely. And like you said earlier, due to our cultural and maybe family setups and the way we were raised, we were not really raised about these things when we're growing up, to say, okay, you can actually speak to somebody about this. But from the people that I have spoken to that have actually done it, they have actually told me that it's a good thing. So my view about it is positive. It's definitely more positive over the last few years than it was maybe like a decade ago, where I didn't know anyone. So I'll say my view about this is quite anecdotal at the moment, in terms of, okay, people that I know that have told me, yeah, I've tried this thing and it actually has helped me to manage stress, or it has helped me to deal with grief, or a specific trauma, etc., etc. So I think it definitely has its benefits. That's my take on it.
So my take, I've had therapy. I believe firmly in its success, in its positivity for people. For that reason, I'm a firm advocate I'm a passionate and adamant advocate for therapy. If you need it, and at various points in our lives, we'll need someone to talk to. Whether we reach out or not is a different matter entirely. Yeah. A therapist is talking to someone who's professionally trained to see if you have a problem, and help you deal with that problem, whatever that problem is, mentally.
Yeah.
So I've seen a therapist over years. I credit it for helping me keep my balance. You know, I
So
certainly
here's the
wouldn't.
Sir, go ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead. Finish, please.
Yeah, so mental health is key. Therapy is key. If you had a headache, you take paracetamol, right?
Yes.
If you had problems with your mobility, you do physio.
Correct.
Why can't you get help for your head? If you have a boil, you get treatment for it, right? So why not your head? You know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. What
Well,
other
if
methods?
you, but yeah. So I've also done CBT. Sorry. I've
Or
done
the
cognitive
CBT that I mentioned
behavioral
earlier.
therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that. I have a book beside my bed that's called Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Dummies. And just takes you through the basics. It's about literally being cognizant of what's going around you and modifying your behavior to reduce the things that
Yep.
trigger your issues. So recognize that when I hear a particular sound or a particular thing or do whatever, I now aware that this certain stimuli give me certain reactions, and those reactions are not necessarily the best reactions. So I want to be conscious of my reactions, and the next time there's a trigger moment, I act better, or I learn to ignore the stimulus, whatever it is.
Okay.
So I'd recommend it to anybody.
Okay. So guys, you heard that from Laomi. Please leave it in the comments if you've had it before as well. What are your thoughts? How has it changed your life? There's so many, therapists online and in person that you can go to should you need that. But Laomi, here's the question. So what other ways can men's mental health be managed? So therapy you've mentioned. So in your view, and I'll chime in when you're done. In your view, how else can men manage their mental health? We're not medical doctors, by the way, or therapists, but we're just two grown men that are talking about the challenges of life.
I think the very first step is acceptance.
Okay.
Accepting that there's a problem or there might be a problem. So now I know there's a problem. How do I what causes the problem and how do I solve it? Am I making sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's going to boil down to that. How you solve it is that what works. What do you think?
No, I agree. And sometimes it's that therapist that will even help you to even get to the acceptance, especially if you're stubborn. So if you're stubborn, you might not even want to admit, or you're a perfectionist and you believe everything you do is perfect. Sometimes it's that therapist that even helps you to say, not to get you to accept with your own words. So let's say you say something happened to you at 5, something happened to you at 15, something happened to you at 25, something happened, I'm just making this up by the way, something happened to you at 35, and the therapist says, do you know that all these things, I've been able to connect the dots, and you are the only person that is central in this story. So do you realize that it's all these things that happened that may be contributing to these feelings that you're feeling that you may not have even put together, but you are the one that told me those things because I asked you about those things and I've pieced it together because I'm the professional. And the reason why some of them will say, okay, so how did that make you feel when that happened to you? How did that make you feel? What kind of feelings or what kind of emotions came out of your body or of your mind when that happened to you? And they now help you to, but sometimes I think we just run at autopilot as human beings and as men.
Yeah.
We don't sometimes go back to look at the dots. I think that's where the professionals come in to help. But I don't think any therapist can do anything special without your help, because you have to talk.
Without your, so
they're the one saying, they're the one. So their skill is to bring out the things that you didn't even know were there, or to piece it together, because it's like how they say you can't appraise yourself at work. So you need a line manager to appraise you. You need a CEO to appraise your work. You can't say, oh, I'm the best person in this job, because you still need a manager to say, no, I agree that you're the best, or you still have these areas, to improve. So I think that's where the benefit is, because if we all appraise ourselves, then we'll all give ourselves like super marks in every area of our life, and it might not be the case.
Yeah. Apart from identifying that you have a problem, acceptance, then there's finding the root cause. Okay, so I have a problem. What is the cause of this problem? And then next step would be, how do I solve this problem? So your plan, your strategy, your mechanisms and then so it's now, and that's the cognitive part of it. You have to know. So take cognizance of something. I accept this. I know this thing exists. I accept it. You own it, and then you realize that. Then you decide that you want to do something about it. Then you come up with a plan that lets you do what you want to do within a certain amount of time.
No, that makes sense. I like the way you pieced it together. So acceptance, root cause, common themes, and then dealing with, and then having a plan of action, a strategy of action to address those things that you've identified. Yeah, but the first thing is acceptance. Well, the only thing I want to probably just add to it is, apart from therapy, because therapy is not the only strategy that one can use to address underlying issues. I think when men openly talk about their emotions and mental struggles in safe spaces, I think that has also proved to be very beneficial. So I'm a part of a WhatsApp group. Some other people I know are also part of WhatsApp groups where they speak openly. People speak about anything, any kind of issues that are going to, and it's just men that are there, and people just say, oh, okay, I know a friend. He went to, I think 2 years ago, he went to Tanzania with 27 other guys. So his brother went with him. There were people that came from the US, people came from the UK, people came from Nigeria and Canada. And all together, there were 27. How did I know? So I was looking at his WhatsApp status one day, and he had one of the regions in Tanzania. I think they walk around with sticks, and they wear this like robes, and they have like the guys have like big, like I think one of them has a big earring or like a nose ring. So I now went to him and I said, what country was this? And I said Tanzania. I said, what happened? He said, what are you going to do in Tanzania? He said, so someone's 50th birthday. And they all agreed that, no wives, no girlfriends, just men. And that's what the guy wanted. So he was doing other things with his 50th birthday, but he wanted to have a boys' trip. So he was still going to do something with his family. And, it's just part of the theme. So that part of his birthday was the boys' trip. And he said, yeah, it was amazing. It was just guys. We rented like 3-4 houses to house all of us. We had a chef. We did the day that I was commenting on was they had a safari cruise. They went clubbing. They went on it was just guys. They say it said, but what made it really amazing, and back to the topic of mental health, was he said a couple of guys broke down. Because this was the first time they had this kind of space in a very, very long time where they could just talk without, and the guys listened, nobody interjected. People just listened and said, and when some of them finished, said, look, I have the exact same problem. And one of them was saying that he can't even take a break. Like his fear is, if I take a break, or if I try another business that does not succeed, how will I look at my family in the face? I don't have a safety net. So that was his own problem. That he didn't have a safety net. Another guy had a health challenge that he hadn't told anybody about, and all the guys kept on telling him that you can't, do you know the impact that this will have on your family if you don't tell? I know you're scared of being vulnerable, but it's going to be worse if they find out that you knew or you didn't tell. So people had different things that they were. Some people had issues when they were in their childhood that they had not told anybody. He said it was like a big bonding session. So I would say open conversations in a safe space and in a non-judgmental environment can reduce stigma. I'll also say things like, and we'll probably cover this in another episode, but I'll say things like meditation. I know a couple of people who meditate, and they said it's quite good. Exercise or having hobbies, it can help to reduce stress. I'll say also having a good support network. So family. So you have a very strong support network in your immediate family. I would say certain friends, not all friends, not all friends. Can be some friends actually make it worse.
Not like Bobrisky's friends.
Some friends actually make it worse if they don't understand where they are coming from. So I'll say certain friends, I'll say family, peer support groups. Then I'll say cutting down on substance abuse can also help in terms of alcohol, drugs, or any kind of like other suggested harmful coping mechanisms. And finally, awareness, like you said, the fact that that it's a problem. So how do we raise awareness about common mental health conditions? So what are the common mental health conditions? So I would say, from what I've read on it, the conditions or the problems are depression is one of them. How
Anxiety.
how does depression manifest? It usually manifests in being irritable very quickly. Any small thing you're irritated. It's not good. Too quick to anger is another one. Or loss of interest in activities. You just don't want to, just can't be bothered. Anxiety, just like you said, when you're looking at that, just feelings of nervousness, dread, or you're an excessive worrier. Like you worry. I think I watched something online, and Will Smith said something. Will Smith said on this show, he said 99%. I don't know, he may have been exaggerating, but he, and I'm not paraphrasing, that's what he said. He said 99% of problems, or not 99% of things you worry about will not happen to you. It's just that 1% that happens. But what do you do with the 99% where you're always excessively worrying? So for some people, it's excessive worry. And some people is excessive work. Some people is excessive substance abuse. Unalive thoughts. So men are more likely to by unaliving themselves due to social stigma about seeking help, which is big, and we covered that in the Nick Imudia story. Please check it out. If you go into our channel for the Nick Imudia story. And like I mentioned earlier as well, some use substance abuse to cope with stress or trauma. It helps them. But I think the key thing now is, it's abuse. So obviously there are certain thresholds that are considered healthy. But when you're going towards substance abuse, then it can even be making the issue worse in some cases.
Interesting.
Yeah. But we know more. I think we know more now than we did maybe 15, 20 years ago. We're at that age where we're older, and like you said, we have you and I have children that we've spoken about, and some of us, our children are getting close to university age. I spoke to a lady We went to secondary, went to our primary school together. She's our mate. Our daughter is a lawyer. Her daughter is a lawyer. She was telling me that, yeah, my daughter is a lawyer. So, she had children earlier than us. And she was like, when she looks at her sometimes, and like, you're actually a lawyer. Like, wow. So we're transitioning. We're older, we're transitioning, we're going through different, and before you know it, you'll be calling me to say, yeah, I'm a grandmother. In probably the next couple of years, yeah, that's what's going to come next. Our daughter's going to get married, and she's not even yet 50, and she's going to be a grandmother. So we're going through different things. And she said something that was quite interesting. She said, and this is on an unrelated note. She was saying, the things that she used to care about 10 years ago, she doesn't care about them anymore. She said, all I want to do now is travel. I just want to travel. I just want to have peace of mind. And I just want to go from one day to the next without losing my shit. That's it. That's all I want now. And good health. Like, that's what's important to me. He said, but if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I'd have given you a laundry list of things I wanted. And maybe in the next 10 years, maybe that laundry list will come back, maybe not. But it just shows you the constant evolution. And our minds, even what's inside our head, is constantly changing. We're constantly, but I think the key thing is to, like you said, understand that it's there. You talked about stressors earlier. You talked about triggers. Know what pisses you off, what can make you really upset. Managing your stress is not easy because we have a lot that we're thinking about as men. And men, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to speak to people, whether it's professionals or people you trust. Don't be afraid don't allow those thoughts to continuously populate your mind over and over again. The person you trust the most, speak to that person and let them know that, yeah, you are not a Superman, even though it seems like you're a Superman. Because the society, and to the point we made earlier, we talked about the constructs, we talked about societal norms. Men are the ones that carry the family. Men are the ones that build societies. Men are the ones that do this. Men are the ones that do that. But these men are humans too. These men also have things that they are going through. There are times where men too are thinking, even when it seems like everything is going well, like say financially, like you mentioned, other things might not be going so well in that man's mind. Is he able to vocalize? And does he have that person to vocalize to say, I'm not happy. Yes, I'm making great money. Yes, I have a great marriage. Yes, my kids love me, but I'm not happy because of something else. Maybe because I don't have enough time to relax. Maybe that's that person's problem. There's no time to relax because they're always working. But they don't want to stop working or reduce their working hours because now the lifestyle and everything is associated with how hard they work. Now, who are they going to speak to that will understand when everybody knows them as the man in society? So it could be something as simple as that. It's not always horrid or terrible stories. But as long as you're not happy in your mind, you have to vocalize, because the consequence of not vocalizing is it just builds up like an inferno. It just builds up and continues to build up. And one day that person snaps. I'm not talking about unaliving. They just snap, like a burst of anger, and you're wondering, where's that coming from? But that's coming from months and years of thoughts circling in that person's mind.
Sort of
I've had mine. I've had
dealing with things quietly.
And one more question is society even, does society support men? Because, I don't think so. I don't think so. Definitely not enough. Definitely not enough. I don't think so. So I think there's also a call out to society as well to help, and I think it's probably also linked to that. You guys are expected to do everything well and be okay. So we don't need to support you because you got it all figured out, but it's not the case. All you need to do is just spend time. And I mean, if you go to any bar, or you go to any barber shop, you can see how men can't wait to just talk about one topic and everybody just has to chime in. And they don't know each other from anywhere. It's almost like, okay, we relate with you, sir. We know what you're talking about. Even though I may not have the same direct experience that you're experiencing, but your story has triggered something in me that makes me relate. So men, talk, please, we're begging you. Talk. I've had my moments and talking helped. I can't imagine not keeping everything inside. It's not, I don't even think it's healthy. Because we grew up at a time where in Nigeria where we call weary. So weary, for everyone who doesn't understand what weary is a mentally challenged person, usually with little clothes or no clothes or torn clothes, dirty clothes, usually with unkempt hair, dirty smelling, walking around, picking things from trash cans, speaking to himself and trying to scare little children and adults alike. But there are a lot of wearies, quote unquote, that in suits, in agbadas, in corporate offices, maybe even public figures that are doing life day by day, functioning day by day, paying their bills, going to office, coming back home. But they are dealing with stuff. The only difference is the outward appearances, and the outbursts are not as pronounced as somebody who's on the street. But I think we owe everyone kindness. And if somebody does reach out to you and you think you are not capable, please signpost them to people that might be able to help, because you might not be willing to hear somebody else's pain, and that's fair. But if you can, then signpost them to people that might be able to help. Because I can almost guarantee you that everyone who has gone to the extreme has had moments where they wanted to speak to someone, but nobody was willing to listen, or nobody took it serious. Or the thing they always say, man up. Have you heard that term before? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They ever say, man up, deal with it. Deal with it. Yeah, you hear that. You hear people saying, deal with it, man up. As if that man isn't human. As if he doesn't have emotions. As if he doesn't have feelings. He does.
This mental health thing is tough. You know, the story you were telling about your friend going off on holiday, I think it's important for guys to do that. I know not every woman is trying this, not every wife wants to hear it. She's thinking, he's going to go with some boys, they're going to be with his boys, they're going to be chasing girls.
Yeah.
But everyone, man and women also need their alone time and their girls' time. I think it should be normal that in the course of a year, the guy will take a few holidays by himself, the woman will take a few holidays by herself, and they'll take a few holidays together.
Combined.
And a few holidays with the children.
Yes.
And you sort of mix it up here and there. But it's important. that both genders make some time to talk, to understand, to recognize the things that are wrong and take steps to deal with them. Because, I mean, you know, by the time, you know, you got to see it on the person's face that they're mentally ill. Sometimes you can, a lot of time you can't. It's terrible. And on that note, we're going to say, if we've missed out on anything, if you have something to say to us, you want to contribute something to this conversation, you have a question, let us know, please. Send us a message at
Send us a message, please.
Yeah, we're Two Grown Men on Twitter X, Two Grown Men on Instagram. And yeah, we want to hear from you. If you'd like to be a part of this program, by all means, please join us. Send us an email. Let us know what you want. If you have a comment about anything we've said tonight, or you have a comment about the channel generally, again, send us an email. But at this point, we're going to say good night to all of you.
Good night.
Yemi.
Thanks for staying with us till the end.
Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for staying with us. Have a good night.
Bye.